Good morning, Tava Baird.
Morning, Jennifer Taylor. Oh my goodness, it's been a while.
I
We were on
know.
vacation.
Yeah, we gave ourselves, I think it was 3 weeks. Maybe it ended up being 4 weeks of not recording while all sorts of stuff was going on. And so now we have season 4. And welcome, by the way, to all of our Mystical Musings tribe.
Yes, yes. Super excited to get back into it. Jen edited the stuff we had recorded before our vacation, so she has it all fresh in her brain. I am going to be a little bit rustier, but I'm sure we'll catch up.
Yeah, I had so little memory of it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I went back because there was so much in the last two episodes that you guys listened to that had just gone completely out of my brain.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we've been to Fertile Ground Gathering and we did the Power of Story there, and just a lot of really wonderful things happened. So we have a lot to take apart and talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I have some more insight into the camera obscura part that he talked about. So I'm
Ooh,
excited about that. Yeah, I think this is going to be fun.
I think it's going to be good too. All right. So shall we sing? Well, I don't say
Sure.
we, it's you.
I was going to say, oh,
I
you're
just
going to
get to
sing.
enjoy it. But I don't think anybody wants to hear that.
All
Uh,
right. Goodness. So,
there are
yeah,
still
let's
people
see.
recovering from me singing them happy birthday, and that's
I highly doubt that. There is
I'm
so much love in your voice that I'm sure they're just still filled up from
there's a trauma program out there for people who I've sung to. So
it. All right. So, yeah, let's see what Archangel Michael wants to bring through for us today and what Samael is going to have to say about it.
sounds wonderful.
So, before you listen to this next song, I just want to let you know that it turned into way more than just sort of the opening song. And it actually was like a little energetic session, which, granted, all the songs are, but this was like that on steroids. So, I'm going to extra emphasize do not listen to this while you're driving. And just so you will know, there is a period of silence during it. During that time, there's a lot of energetic stuff happening. You just can't hear it. And then you'll be kind of brought back out of it because near the end, I start toning again. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what you're stepping into here. And then I can't wait to see what comes from Samael.
Good. Good Lord. So first off, that was lovely and wonderful to hear you sing again because I haven't gotten to hear you sing since Fertile Ground. And at Fertile Ground, I was channeling while you were doing most of your singing. So normally there's like a little something from him that I read. Jen, I have 3 pages so far of him talking about gates, traveling, time slipping, symptoms of people who time slip. He's just putting it all out on the table. And I I mean I can read it, but I think there's probably 15 topics in here that we might want to drill into. So I'm not even sure how to go into this.
Wow. And so what happened for me, and I realized I was like, we're going to need to record a short thing that's actually going to need to go before, be stuck in before this, because so I was getting ready and I felt like Archangel Michael was like, you need to make the circle of stones the way I've told you to do it, because he's told me repeatedly, like when I'm channeling, when I'm doing discernment, anything, when I'm doing a session, I need to create this ring of 8 stones and let him lead me through kind of activating it like activating a stone circle. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll do that. Still thinking that I'm going to be just bringing through a song. And then I was like, oh boy, I've opened up a whole can of worms. This is a session, not, this isn't like oh, let's sort of just do a little preparation. I was thinking, this could go on for like 45 more minutes. Like, what am I going to do? And I kept just kind of being like, Michael, just so you know, this is like the podcast thing. So we just sort of sing a little bit but it just kept coming and it just kept coming. And I'm like, okay, well, by now he knows what the podcast is. Like, I'm sure he gets it. But then next thing you know, my forehead's on the ground. And I'm like, okay, we're going to need to make something to tell people there's going to be now like a period of silence and stuff. And definitely don't drive through this one because, yeah, it that was a lot more than I bargained for as well. Feel like I got the Michael version of what you
Yeah.
got in Samael.
Well, as soon as you started to sing, definitely when you went back and started sort of singing after the silence again, I was like, oh, this is opening up the way for more info than we normally get during the hi, would you like to sing and we'll see what comes through. This
Right.
was like both of them going, final exam, kids. All right. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of intense stuff here. And I'm going to try to draw it. You told me to look for the diagram from our last thing, and I found a piece of something, but this time I have a figure I need to show you, but I'm going to try to draw it. Oh my God, I just did a terrible job. I'm going to try to draw it bigger here so you can see it. All right, so I'm going to hold this up and I'm going to try to describe it. So think about like a bullseye where you have a center circle and then a slightly bigger circle and then a slightly bigger circle, but none of them touch. Now imagine that you moved those circles all over to the side within the largest circle so that there was a point at which all of the circles touch, but the majority of them did not cross over with each other. While you were singing, there were several of these. So it's not a spiral and it's not just concentric non-touching circles. While you were singing, something like that kept coming through again and again. Sometimes they were touching all in one place, and sometimes a few of them would be touching in one area, and then others would be joined in a separate area. It's like imagine that you were to walk in a circle, come back to your starting point, then make a bigger circle, come back to the starting point, and continue to do that. That's one version of it. Another version of it is that you might come back to the starting point, but then halfway around one of your rotations, create a new starting point for several of the next circles. this is what he had to say. Good luck, Jenn. So he had me draw that. And then he said, each circle joins the last before moving outward and inward again. Entities travel on this path. Some incarnated humans remember their previous journeys when they are not inside a form. So I think what he's saying here is that entities that are not in a human body right now, some of them have the ability to jump back around between locations and worlds. We know that Michael and Samael do that, right? We know the angels that we've encountered do that, but that it's not, this ability isn't just contained to them. So going back to him, some humans can still access the ability in dreams, some in liminal spaces, some in meditative states, such as piloting an automobile. I love the piloting an automobile. Way to go, big guy. He's got that technology stuff down. Care should be taken. Humans may confuse past journeys and observations when out of a body for previous incarnations. A sign of this is assuming that you attended all important historical events or were a well known entity with much more frequency than is probable. Because you were drawn does not mean you were a necessary player. You observe much more when not in the body. Okay, so here's what I think this means. I have people all the time who come up to me and they talk about, I think I was X in a past life. Problem is that, 4,000 people can't all have been Cleopatra in a past life, right? Like, there are aspects to that person, to that entity. That entity is part of a larger divine entity. You may be carrying some of Cleopatra's energy, but we have a lot of people who will go, no, I was definitely Cleopatra. And I was also Joan of Arc. And I was also Eleanor Roosevelt. And I run into this frequently. And you start to go through the probability that you were actually, that person was actually incarnated as that person at all of these major historical events. Most likely not. What you probably have in this situation is someone who time slips or observed and had their energy present at major historical events they remember that were formed around these people. So they either journeyed and observed it or may have been present and are going back to visit that time. They're confusing that with this was actually me in that body. So that's something he's saying that you will notice in people. And so they may be getting confused about what is previous incarnation versus time slipping or observational ability that they engaged in while out of the body. Right. So here we go. There's more. Now, this one, I don't even know that I should read it aloud because this goes into like 3 days of other stuff he's been talking to me about. And I find the concept so fascinating. I'm working it into one of my books. But among the day, the gates of Obanji create a similar sensation, place to observe from for those who may not currently have the ability. Used by a select few, Metatron's cube in a slice of its dimension. Let's just take that paragraph and put it on the back burner. He said it, so I'm reading it, but the I'm just going to keep talking about Metatron's cube here. Here we go.
There's a lot.
The cube is Metatron themselves, the composition through which some information passes. I mean, I think we could probably spend an hour on that right there.
Yeah.
When traveling, do not move too quickly between realms while in human form. Uncontrolled time slips, and he's using the term that we've been using. I don't know what he calls it, but it's conversational now. Uncontrolled time slips lead to confusion, chaos, and a lowering of defenses as you do not have time to process and release energies from multiple realms. A quote unquote chaos angel of sorts, but in a person. So we'll have to talk about chaos angels and what he means, chaos angel in a person. We've talked a little bit about that before. Um, and there's more. So then the diagram comes back again. Those who work in these multiple dimensions must balance their energies with the simplicity of a few dimensions, a basic, simpler, streamlined, and grounded life. Otherwise, the feeling of flight and invincibility may take hold, which does not serve one well in this realm. Persons may also be attracted to others who have chaos angel energy or are not entirely in their bodies, such as those with past trauma or special physical needs. Find that interesting that if you have the ability to move around well between realms, that may mean you have a greater tie to your unembodied self than other incarnated people may have. You are going to notice this quality in other people. And sometimes that quality of not being fully embodied will come up in people with trauma or people who have special physical needs where parts of them are still connected to another realm because of the way they were born, which means people with strong sort of time slip abilities may find that they are more drawn or have more sympathy for or more connection to people with special needs or
Active
trauma.
trauma, maybe.
Active trauma, yes, because active trauma is also going to separate you somewhat from your body, depending on the type of trauma. All right, there's just a little bit more. Spinning up and spinning down come naturally to many of the never embodied, such as myself. For others, precaution must be taken. So I think he's talking about what does the embodied life look like for someone who often finds themselves in liminal spaces, visiting past incarnations or historical events or traveling to other places. He's saying for entities like himself who were never embodied, it's just sort of a natural thing that they do. It's a skill. But because we are tied to a body while we are incarnated, this can pose some difficulty for us because basically we're having out of body experiences more frequently than sort of if you don't have a guide on how to do it well, things can become very chaotic in your life because you're essentially living in two places. You're feeling the draw of being out of your body, yet you still have to handle having a body. And you're in a world where everything is based around having a body. And you're going to be drawn to people who naturally are also trying to deal the fact that they may be out of their bodies more frequently. Now, this is not a problem I have, folks. I am blissfully, I mean, well, okay, it's not true. Samael has told me very bluntly that I do have some issues with staying connected with my body. I know I do. I know I do. But I don't kind of go jumping through different times and incarnations in my liminal space that I know of. I just have a disconnection. There are others of us who frequently go to different places. And so I think he's talking about some guidelines or things to keep in mind if you are a person who has this gift, and trying to help explain a little bit about what may be happening to you. Um, Jen, I know you do this all the time. The beauty of what you do is it's very controlled. Like
Which I still don't know how that's possible, but I
you, yeah,
he
but
insists that it's controlled, so
who says it's controlled? But I run into lots of people who it's obviously not. And they're like, always like, why is my life such chaos? Why is my life such chaos? And they have difficulty discerning where they've actually been and what they've actually seen and what it means about who they are now. So lots to unpack here.
yeah, that's really interesting. And I find it really interesting too, in light of the conversations that we've been having over Marco for the last several weeks about crossing timelines and possible physical ramifications of doing all of that. And yeah, I'm really interested because he's talking about uncontrolled
Right.
as opposed to the controlled, and I'm wondering then what the ramifications are too for the controlled, or is it different because it's controlled? It's a different kind of thing. And one of the things
Right.
I think I remember him saying in this that you just read was that you accumulate lots of energies, and that like when you've gone across a lot of realms and back, that you've accumulated a lot of energies, and something about not having had the time to process all of those.
I think it was this paragraph. When traveling, do not move too quickly between realms while in human form. Uncontrolled time slips lead to confusion, chaos, and a lowering of defenses, as you do not have time to process and release energies from multiple realms. So if you are moving so fast that you either you're choosing to move fast in a controlled manner, or you're not choosing because you're traveling in an uncontrolled manner. What, Samael? Oh, he says that entities that you meet in these places, he says, hold on, I better write this down.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I got one sentence down, but he's going so fast. I'm going to do my best. He said, it is not a film, Shala. There are actual conscious energies there. I think what he's talking about is if you go to a different realm or a different place and you're visiting and you're sort of out of your body, but your body's still there, right? And you go in and you go, oh, this is so exciting. And you see something happening. And then you move to another one. And then you move to another one. It's not like you're just watching a TV program of these events happening. Your energy is there, which means you're not just in a neutral place observing. There are actual conscious other energies, people there, or unembodied people, or
I guess.
there are other beings there who are interacting with you, who are observing you, who may be wanting to, just said coattail. Oh, hold on for the ride. That you can pick up other entities that want to attach to you and kind of move along. And if you are not taking enough time and precaution, do this carefully and calling in your guides and making sure that you are grounding yourself and giving yourself time in between these things, you may be picking up all sorts of energy that you're not having any time to sit and process and move through and dispel, right? Sort of like imagine, I guess it would be like if you wrapped your entire body in packing tape and then you had a series of rooms. The first one is feathers. The second one is, cobwebs. The third one is cat hair. And you go running through the rooms. You're going to pick up things in each of these areas that's now to you, right? And you're going to arrive back home covered in fuzz and energies that you may not even realize have worked themselves up inside you. And he says this can lead what? This leads to imbalances in your human life, which makes sense, you know? So if you are, anytime you're doing this work, whether consciously or unconsciously, like I know people who go, yeah, I slip into a liminal state and travel to other places while I drive. Whoa.
Yeah.
First off, I mean, I think we've all done that where you've done the same route so many days that you kind of forget you're doing it and then there you are, you're at work again. But there are people who actually actively go to other places while they get into these meditative states. Don't just brush it under the rug and go, haha, it happened again. You probably picked up energy while you were there and left behind energy while you were there. Then, if you're walking through your day after that going, why is everything such chaos around me? Well, you're carrying all this other stuff. So, and that's obviously going to have an effect on you. But the coattail, someone else holding on for the ride that may be conscious, that one is a little,
Yeah, like I'd
whoa.
initially thought of it, yeah, just as sort of like the feathers and the hair and that kind of stuff. But the idea then, if you imagine it as like people holding on to your coattails, like actual conscious beings, then you could also be carelessly spreading around or moving beings from one realm into another and then back here with you. And doing that in a careless way, like this may not be the best place for them, or this may be a place where the other people here are going to be negatively affected because they weren't necessarily supposed to be here. Like this isn't the place that they're supposed to be and where they're supposed to be doing their work. But I mean, that's a lot to have conscious energies then kind of using you to hitch a ride, like kind of sneaking in the back. Like to see in movies, there's like a pickup truck with a big tarp or something in the back, and people like slip in under the back and take a ride somewhere.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like that, and then it also makes me wonder. So if you're talking about going back to major historical events, right? And that you're not, it's not just being replayed like a film, but you're actually there energetically, and there are lots of other beings there. And I'm guessing the people that were there at that event, like if you're traveling to that, it's like time travel. And like all the movies where there's time travel and it's like, you go back to the future kind of thing. It's like you go back, and then if you alter something, it alters the course of history. It kind of makes me wonder if there are lots of people going back and observing and being a part of all of these major historical events. And then there are beings that are hanging on their coattails and moving then. So let's say you go and you witness one major historical event, and then you hop to another one, and then you're moving energies or beings from one situation to another where they would normally never have been. They might not have ever been, like some completely different timeline, some completely different, geographical location, could that have an actual effect on these historical events? You know, a la the Back to the Future kinds of things. Like, could there be a shifting that takes place by lots of people going and then kind of energetically participating and then inadvertently moving people from one to another?
He's talking a little bit. He says modern interpretation has the biggest impact. Modern interpretation has more. So, Samael, are you saying what people say about historical events is the biggest impact on them? He says correct, but not on the event itself. The power of story. Okay. So he says that I guess the lasting impact of an event is altered by how we speak of it in the present day, right? Whether or not we believe that something happened and how loud we amplify our voices and how many people. So, whatever perspectives came out of that. He says that going back to visit is often misinterpreted because the filters on the body. You mean energetic filters? Yes. He said you may relive much as what a locked ghost or place memory. Okay. So he's saying what if we did witness a historical event when we were out of our bodies, right? So not a past life, but say, for example, between, um, say, the last time I was incarnated was in the 1700s, and I died in 1776 in the American Revolution. Who knows? Then maybe in the time period between that and the next time I was born, say in 1972, when I was in between. He also, okay, yes, I know my definition of time is not the same as yours. Okay. He keeps emphasizing that. But anyway, we'll have to get into that another day, Samael. But he's saying I could go witness something that happened in 1865. I did witness things that happened in 1865 when I was an energetic entity. I just wasn't in a body at the time. So when I'm dreaming or when I'm going into these liminal spaces, I may be having memories of those experiences. And I may misinterpret what it was as that I actually lived in a human body in 1865. He says because of there are certain energetic filters on the human body so that we don't connect completely back to the divine, thereby negating the purpose for us being incarnated, that we often these memories we're getting them through like a filter. So he says it's more akin to if an entity is, say, what we would call a ghost, is reliving part of its life over and over and over again. They're not really impacting the event itself. They're kind of in that memory and moving through it, but there are other energies there. It's not going to be quite the same as if we took 20,000 Michael J. Foxes and dumped them all in 1955 with the DeLorean, right? So there definitely would be, you would end up revising history, sort of to say. So there are other, it might be akin to, he's talking about Pastor Michael at the inn. He relives, but there are other entities there. Pastor Michael goes through certain things in his head as he's doing his work. We're all still actually there around him. So, what he is living and experiencing is not film. There are both energies from other people who were there at the time, residual energy in the house, and whoever is visiting currently. But it depends how conscious. Okay, he's going down another wormhole of consciousness here. We might want to set that a little bit to the side for its own episode. Um, but yeah, apparently it's not film. You're seeing it, you're experiencing it. There are other energies there. But if you then leave that experience and go into another realm, you may be unconsciously taking energy with you. Is that right? It says I liked the tape story. So I'm doing a D plus average job of bringing this through. No, he's just better than that. All right. Um, dear God, Jen.
Wow.
How are we back on the podcast like 1 hour and I already feel like my brain is leaking out of my teeth?
Yeah, there's a lot. So I'm thinking, okay, if you are a person, I'm always trying to make this like instructive as to not just understanding it, but like let's say you're a person who uncontrollably time slips. What would be the ways that, because if you're already kind of uncontrollably, means that a lot of it you're not necessarily choosing to begin with, what would Samael's recommendations be for how you slow it down, how you process the energies that you're picking up, and how you would get more in control of it and make sure that you're taking the necessary steps to be embodied, to release the energies, all of that. I'm thinking like, it's definitely a cautionary tale, like, don't do this, but I'm like, okay, what do you do then? How would you shape what you're doing in a new way so that you don't end up as a chaos angel?
Yes. Okay, hold on. He's giving me bullet points. Could I trouble you to sing a little bit more? Because I'm getting a blah, 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 blah,
Sure.
but I feel a little discombobulated after trying to explain that last thing. And
Yeah,
I
can't
think that
imagine why.
the singing might help this all come through a little bit better for
Sure.
me.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
wow.
Yeah,
So
I will
I'm still stuck on it's not a film. They're there. But at the same point, he says you're overplaying the impact of your visit and underplaying the power of story in common day. He's more worried
okay.
about the way in which things are framed afterwards and the impact that they have on events happening now than on,
The impact that your visit had to that
yes,
event, which
yes,
makes sense then. It's like if you come back and you're embodied and now you have a storyline of I was this particular person in history and I maybe did all of these horrible things, then you may be carrying suddenly the guilt and all of that may be different. Or if you think you were, some goddess, something in some other things, that may change the way that you tell the stories about yourself, and that it's not based in your current lifetime and your current lessons that you're meant to be having now. It like overlays onto your current life in a way that disrupts the flow of what was supposed to happen, and maybe introduces a whole bunch of new problems that weren't meant to be there because you're now so attached to the storyline of who you were.
yes. He said, he went, yes, yes, yes. The way we go forward matters. And then he brought up the French Revolution. So imagine if you were an unembodied entity between lives that happened to witness the guillotine at the French Revolution. Okay. You are going to probably have horrific trauma from that, or even though you're out of your body and you know there are things bigger than that, just witnessing cruelty and horror is going to impact you. Imagine, he says, imagine how much more it would impact you if you left that event believing that you were Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
And so then that changes everything going forward. And it's the moving forward where his focus is. He said, we cannot pick everything apart. We will drown there. Oh, who you were is not an impediment. God, I can't write this fast, Samael. To who you might become. Hope is the strongest magic.
That's really beautiful. Which makes sense. So it also that tells, yeah, so if you're stuck on I was this, historical figure who did all these horrible things, who created all that kind of stuff, that's going to dramatically change your ability to impact your current life in a positive way and add all kinds of shame and all kinds of things to it that is then going to just derail, where you were.
You just said, do you not have enough shame, Umshala?
Yeah. Yeah, we all have enough just from going through this current incarnation. And then, too, if you have a belief that because I was that, I have to suffer in this lifetime because
Uh-huh.
karmically I am being punished for being Marie Antoinette, that would also then open up this huge window of like a self fulfilling prophecy. It's like you're opening up this way for all kinds of negative stuff to befall you because you believe you deserve it and you believe you're supposed to be doing that. And so you wouldn't maybe even then act to save yourself in these things or be stepping up. It's like, I just deserve it. I'm supposed, that's why all these bad things are happening to me. Or, yeah, I can see how it could really, really just throw a monkey wrench in to everything that you're trying to accomplish in this lifetime.
It would be magnified because we're in a body, and so we don't remember all of the things from when we're not in a body. We do have more difficulty connecting with that sort of eternal and that divine, so that we're focused on what's here. So it could really take over. He just said it sets limits, and Michael and Metatron hope for the limitless.
Oh, that's really fascinating.
That is, especially based on what he just said about hope. Hope is the strongest magic.
And Michael and Metatron,
Metatron, hope for the limitless.
which I guess, given that Michael uses his sword to cut, like to cut
Bonds and
bonds
negates.
and to open gates, he's all about like releasing the things that would be holding things in place. And Metatron, didn't you see Metatron? Metatron gave him the sword. Did
Metatron,
Metatron give him the
Metatron
sword?
is
I know he
Metatron
gave
is
Gabriel his horn,
I
or
don't
trumpet.
remember that exactly or not. I'd have to go back.
Yeah.
We are now in a loop of Metatron, 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 praise his holy name. Sorry.
Oh
Um,
boy.
but yeah, well, I mean, and Metatron is the keeper of knowledge, of divine knowledge,
And
and his
pattern.
passing creates the gates and divine pattern. And Michael is trying to, like when we talked about fallen angels, the idea that the bonds on the gate were cut and there was expansion, right? So, and even if we go back to our work with Lilith, the idea that we walk through life with full of shame and full of boundaries and full of all these things we're told we can't be, those are all limits. And so it's when we start to do the work of saying, what if I What are the limits that I can put down that perhaps I self impose? What are those things? What boundaries can I cross in a whole and helpful way? What areas can I move into to spread growth and joy and positive energy? You're becoming more limitless as that goes on. And that's the work that Samael and Lilith and Michael and are always encouraging us to do, is to tear the walls down and to move forward.
Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation today. We will continue this conversation next week when Samael gives us bullet points on exactly how to move through and do traveling either more safely and to safeguard ourselves for those people who are doing a little bit too much traveling and in an uncontrolled way. So I'm really excited for you to get to hear that next week. And to leave you today, I leave you with a song that is actually from my Lilith album on Bandcamp, and it is called Consecration of an Altar to Hope.